Would you have the courage to sleep in a house where previous residents reported footsteps in the hallway in the middle of the night, doors closing on their own, and whispered voices in complete silence? From the outside, they look like ordinary homes in quiet neighborhoods. But inside, they carry stories that have stretched across decades. What turns a simple home into one of the most feared addresses in the United States? Throughout American history, some houses stopped being just residences and became the setting for real events, official investigations, and reports that continue to repeat themselves. In some cases, the records are documented. In others, testimonies still divide opinion. In this video, you're going to join me on a growing journey through the 10 most terrifying houses in the United States. We begin with historic properties open to the public and move toward residences connected to cases that made national headlines. Stay until the end, because number 1 is directly linked to one of the most debated house-related cases in the country and continues to spark curiosity to this day. United States, Vicksburg, Mississippi. McRaven House. Located in Vicksburg, in the state of Mississippi, United States, the McRaven House is a historic residence built in the late 18th century and considered one of the oldest homes in the region. Today it operates as a museum, but it gained national recognition due to recurring reports documented by visitors and tour guides. The original structure dates back to 1797 and was expanded in different periods, including 1836 and after the American Civil War. During the war, records indicate that the house was used as an improvised hospital for wounded soldiers. The turning point for its modern reputation came in the 20th century, when frequent reports of unusual experiences inside the home began to surface. The structure combines wood and brick, with small bedrooms, narrow staircases, and hallways connecting the 3 sections built in different eras. The interior preserves period furniture and historical objects. Access is available through guided tours. Visitors move through interconnected rooms and softly lit corridors, which increase the feeling of closeness and immersion. Physical risks are minimal, since the property is regularly restored, although uneven flooring and antique staircases require attention. The atmosphere is defined by the sound of wood creaking underfoot, subtle temperature shifts between rooms, and shadows cast against aged walls. Documented fact: historical records confirm that the house was used as a Civil War hospital and that individuals passed away there due to injuries. Popular report: visitors frequently describe hearing footsteps upstairs and doors closing without visible explanation. The McRaven House has become a historic tourist destination and the subject of independent investigations over the years. If this residence already carries centuries of recorded history, the next one became world famous because of a case that left a permanent mark on American popular culture. United States, Amityville, New York. Amityville Horror House. Located in Amityville, in the state of New York, United States, the Amityville Horror House is a suburban home built in the early 20th century that became one of the most recognized addresses in the country due to a widely publicized real case and the reports that followed. Its main notoriety comes from the combination of official records and testimonies that have divided opinions for decades. The house was built in 1927. The turning point occurred in 1974 when a fatal attack took place inside the residence, an event widely documented by authorities and media outlets at the time. The following year, a new family moved in and left only weeks later, claiming they had experienced unusual events. The structure has 2 stories and a basement, with a traditional facade and distinctive upper windows that later became iconic in popular culture. Inside, it follows the layout of a typical American family home, with a main living area, central staircase, and bedrooms upstairs. Today, the property is privately owned. As a result, most visits happen only from the outside, always respecting local regulations. There are virtually no physical risks for those observing from the street, though strict rules prohibit trespassing since it is not an official attraction. The atmosphere stands out because of the contrast: a quiet suburban street, ordinary neighbors, and an address carrying nationwide notoriety. At night, the soft neighborhood lighting reinforces that sense of normalcy. Documented fact: the 1974 case is extensively recorded in official documents and historical archives. Popular report: the subsequent residents claimed to experience unexplained noises, moving doors, and an intense feeling inside the house, although those claims remain debated. The residence became a cultural landmark, inspiring books and films that amplified its worldwide fame. If the tension here comes from the clash between everyday life and a documented past, the next address carries an older episode that forever marked a small American town. United States, Villisca, Iowa. Villisca Axe Murder House. Located in Villisca, Iowa, United States, the Villisca Axe Murder House is a 19th-century residence that became nationally known due to a case that occurred in 1912 and the reports that emerged over the decades. Its main notoriety is linked to this unresolved episode and the preserved atmosphere of the house. The residence was built in 1868, made of wood, with 2 floors and an attic. The turning point came in 1912, when 8 individuals were found without life inside the home in an incident that shocked the local community and gained regional attention. The structure is compact, with small bedrooms, narrow staircases, and short hallways typical of rural homes of that era. Much of the furniture and layout have been maintained or restored to reflect the historical setting. Access is available through guided tours and, in some cases, supervised overnight stays. Movement happens through tight spaces where the closeness of walls and furniture increases the sense of confinement. Risks involve old wooden flooring and steep stairs, requiring attention, especially during nighttime visits. The silence is striking. The wood creaks easily, and small natural structural sounds seem louder in enclosed spaces. At night, limited lighting intensifies the historic atmosphere. Documented fact: the 1912 case is widely recorded in historical archives and newspapers from the time. Popular report: visitors claim to hear footsteps in the attic and notice temperature changes in certain rooms, experiences that remain within personal testimony. The house has become a subject for documentaries and independent investigations. And if here, the weight comes from an old mystery, the next address gained notoriety through reports that intensified in the modern era. United States, Atchison, Kansas. Sallie House. Located in Atchison, Kansas, United States, the Sallie House is a late 19th century residence that gained notoriety through reports connected to an alleged childlike presence. Unlike other homes on this list, its fame is not tied to a single historical event, but to repeated experiences described by residents and visitors over time. Built around the 1870s, it always functioned as a family residence. The turning point came in the late 20th century, when a couple living there began reporting unusual occurrences, including objects moving and unexplained noises inside the home. The structure is wooden, with 2 floors and a basement. Rooms are compact, connected by narrow hallways and a tight interior staircase. The basement, simple and dimly lit, is often cited as the most uncomfortable area. Access is by appointment, with supervised visits. Circulation includes all main areas of the house, increasing the feeling of confinement, especially at night. Physical risks are low, though the aged flooring and narrow staircase require caution. At night, natural wood creaks become more noticeable, subtle temperature changes are observed, and prolonged silence makes any sound seem amplified. Documented fact: it is a preserved historic residence from the 1870s in Atchison. Popular report: visitors claim to hear childlike laughter and footsteps in the basement, experiences that remain within personal testimony. The Sallie House solidified its reputation through television programs and independent investigations. And if a simple home can generate this much tension through repeated reports alone, the next address blends recognized history with experiences recorded across generations. United States, San Diego, California. The Whaley House. Located in San Diego, California, United States, the Whaley House was built in 1857 and is considered one of the most recognized historic landmarks on the American West Coast. Its reputation combines official historical records with frequent reports made by visitors over the years. The house served as the residence of the Whaley family and also functioned for commercial and public purposes. Over time, it became associated with unusual experiences, especially on the upper floor. The structure combines brick and wood, with 2 stories, a front porch, and a classic internal layout, including ground floor living areas and upstairs bedrooms. Part of the original furniture has been preserved. Access is open to the public as a historic museum. Visitors move through interior hallways and wooden staircases that maintain the original 19th century layout. Physical risks are minimal, as the building is well maintained, though old stairs and floors require attention. The atmosphere is marked by soft lighting, light echoes in certain rooms, and the sound of wood reacting to temperature changes. At night, shadows along the corridors make the experience more intense. Documented fact: the house is officially recognized as a California historical landmark. Popular report: visitors claim to hear footsteps upstairs even when no one else is present. The Whaley House remains one of the most talked about historic addresses in the state. If you're following this escalation through the most terrifying houses in the United States, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell, because from this point forward we enter addresses connected to even more intense stories. And if the blend of official history and repeated reports has already caught your attention, the next location is tied to one of the most debated cases of 19th century America. United States, Fall River, Massachusetts. Lizzie Borden House. Located in Fall River, in the state of Massachusetts, United States, the Lizzie Borden House is a residence built in 1845 that became one of the most well-known addresses in the country because of a widely publicized 19th century case. Its primary notoriety is connected to the trial that marked American legal history and continues to generate debate. The turning point occurred in 1892, when 2 residents were found without life inside the home in an episode that received nationwide attention. The trial that followed entered historical records and remains one of the most discussed legal proceedings of its time. The structure is wooden, with 2 stories and an attic. The interior layout includes a central hallway, parlor, dining room, and bedrooms upstairs, reflecting the typical New England home design of that era. Today, the property operates as both a museum and supervised themed lodging. Visitors are allowed to walk through the original rooms, including the bedroom associated with the case. Physical risks are low, as the house is preserved and monitored, though antique flooring and staircases require attention. The interior environment combines soft lighting, period furnishings, and steady quiet. At night, the house becomes even more silent, making natural sounds more noticeable. Documented fact: the 1893 trial is extensively recorded in judicial and historical archives. Popular report: guests describe hearing footsteps, doors moving, and sensing a presence in certain rooms. The Lizzie Borden House has become a cultural reference point, inspiring books, research, and audiovisual productions. If this address already carries one of the most debated cases of the 19th century, the next one is connected to an even older and more controversial chapter in American history. United States, New Orleans, Louisiana. LaLaurie Mansion. Located in New Orleans, Louisiana, United States, the LaLaurie Mansion is a 19th century residence known both for its imposing architecture and for a historical episode widely recorded that permanently shaped its reputation. Its notoriety is tied to events revealed after a fire that occurred in the 1830s, an episode that deeply impacted the city. Built in Creole style, the mansion served as the residence of an influential local family. The turning point occurred in 1834, when a fire inside the property led authorities to investigate the premises. The investigation revealed severe conditions that were documented in newspapers of the time, solidifying the address's reputation. The structure features multiple floors, wrought iron balconies, and large windows facing the street. The historic facade remains largely intact, preserving the original French colonial appearance of the city. Access is restricted, as the property is privately owned. Most visits occur from the outside during historical tours of the French Quarter, where the mansion is frequently mentioned as one of the most discussed locations. There are no physical risks for outside visitors, since the property does not operate as a public interior attraction. During the day, the street is busy and filled with tourists. At night, soft lighting and the old architecture create a quieter and more intense atmosphere, contrasting with the daytime activity. Documented fact: the 1834 fire and subsequent investigation are widely recorded in New Orleans historical archives. Popular report: guides and locals mention lights and movements seen in upper windows, stories that remain part of oral tradition. The LaLaurie Mansion became a permanent part of the city's cultural imagination. And if this residence already carries a past that marked its era, the next address combines historical tradition with reports that have crossed generations. United States, St. Francisville, Louisiana. The Myrtles Plantation. Located in St. Francisville, Louisiana, United States, the Myrtles Plantation is a property built in the late 18th century and considered one of the most well-known historic residences in the southern region of the country. Its reputation blends official historical records with reports that gained strength over time. The plantation was built around 1796 and passed through several owners over the centuries. The turning point in its reputation occurred in the 20th century, when stories connected to former residents began gaining public attention and were widely shared. The main structure is wooden, with a wide front porch, classic columns, and multiple rooms spread across 2 floors. The property remains preserved and currently operates as a historic inn and tourist attraction. Access is permitted through guided tours and overnight stays. Visitors move through long hallways, interior staircases, and rooms maintained in traditional style, preserving historical furniture and decor. Physical risks are minimal, as the property is regularly restored and supervised, though old floors and wooden stairs require attention. During the day, natural light filters through surrounding trees, creating a calm setting. At night, rural silence dominates completely, and hallways take on deeper shadows that reinforce the historic atmosphere. Documented fact: the property has existed since the late 18th century and has multiple historically recorded owners. Popular report: visitors mention figures appearing in photographs and a sensation of being watched in certain rooms. Experiences that remain within personal testimony. The Myrtles Plantation has become a constant presence in historical programs and regional tour routes. And if tradition and repeated reports already create tension, the final 2 addresses on this list are even more widely recognized worldwide. United States, San Jose, California. Winchester Mystery House. Located in San Jose, California, United States, the Winchester Mystery House is a residence built in the late 19th century that became one of the most famous houses in the country because of its unusual architecture. Its reputation is tied to decades of continuous construction and a maze-like design that challenges conventional logic. Expansion began in 1886 under the direction of Sarah Winchester, widow of the heir to the Winchester Firearms Company. Construction continued almost without interruption for years, resulting in an unconventional structure that only stopped after her death in 1922. The residence contains hundreds of rooms, staircases that lead nowhere, doors that open into walls, and corridors that change direction unexpectedly. The structure combines detailed woodwork, stained glass windows, and complex architectural elements. Access is open to the public through guided tours. Visitors move through narrow corridors, slanted staircases, and irregularly arranged spaces, increasing the feeling of disorientation. Physical risks are controlled as the house is maintained and supervised, but the unusual layout requires constant awareness while walking. The interior is marked by soft lighting, stained glass filtering sunlight, and long hallways that create natural shadows. Silence in certain areas contrasts with the light echo of footsteps on wood. Documented fact: the continuous construction of the house over decades is widely recorded in historical documents. Popular report: visitors described intense disorientation and a sense of presence in isolated corridors. Experiences that remain within personal testimony. The Winchester Mystery House has solidified itself as one of California's most visited historic attractions. And if this house stands out for architectural complexity, the final address on the list gained worldwide recognition for reports that crossed national borders. United States, Burrillville, Rhode Island. The Conjuring House. Located in Burrillville, Rhode Island, United States, the Conjuring House is a rural residence built in the 18th century that became internationally known for reports connected to former residents and for the cultural impact it gained in recent decades. Its reputation is tied both to documented testimonies and to its influence in cinema. The house was built in 1736 and served as a family residence for generations. The turning point came in the 1970s, when a family living there reported unusual experiences inside the property. These accounts later gained public attention and led to independent investigations. The structure is wooden, with 2 floors, exposed beams, and a simple internal layout typical of New England colonial farmhouses. The property sits in a rural area, surrounded by open land and old trees, reinforcing the sense of isolation. Access is available through scheduled visits and supervised overnight stays. Circulation includes original bedrooms, wooden staircases, and dimly lit spaces during nighttime visits. Physical risks are low, though the aged flooring and narrow staircases require caution, especially in groups. The atmosphere is marked by deep silence, a faint scent of aged wood, and wind moving across the property. At night, the surrounding rural darkness intensifies the feeling of isolation and stillness. Documented fact: the house is an officially registered 18th century historic residence in the region. Popular report: visitors describe unexplained noises, objects moving, and a sense of presence in certain areas, experiences that remain within personal testimony. After exploring these 10 houses, it becomes clear that some stand out for architecture, others for recorded historical episodes, and others for stories repeated across generations. But they all share something in common: walls that hold stories that continue to spark curiosity and discomfort. From historic residences to homes that inspired films and national debates, we've walked through some of the most talked about addresses in the United States. Each carries a different past, but all show how a simple house can become a symbol when history and testimony intersect. These places are not just old structures, they are real marks of what happened there and what still sparks curiosity and unease. Now tell me, which of these houses would you dare to visit at night? In which one would you spend an entire midnight without leaving the room? And which other house should be included in the next list? If you enjoy this kind of content, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. It strengthens the channel and guarantees new videos with this same tone every week.